Wow, right? They look very heartfelt, don't they? Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 33. We'll read text 9 through 12 with a focus verse of number 12. Today's topic is leaving the comforts of home, or our comfort zone for the higher purpose. We'll start off with Jai Radha Madhava. Krishna is the lover of Radha. He displays many amorous pastimes in the groves of Vrindavan. He is the lover of the cowherd maidens of Braja and the holder of the great hill named Govardhan. He is beloved son of Mother Yashoda, the delighter of the inhabitants of Raj, and he wanders the forests along the banks of the river Yamuna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Thank you, Mataji. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabiyari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Jaya Radha Madhava Shri Radhe Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Kalasanji Radha Kalasanji Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Govinda Shri Radhe Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Shri Radha Madhava ki jai, Shri Radha Kalashandaji ki jai, Shri Radha Govinda ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. If we could all please do the invocation verses together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devyam sarasvatim visyam tato jayamudirayat. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayasha breshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamasoke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart is almost completely destroyed, and the loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Megantamarandasya Gananjana Salakaya Shakshuranmityam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge.
Please turn to 3:33:12. So today we'll start with a focus verse, and then we'll come back and read the 4 verses for the reading today, which are very nicely contribute to the theme and the class today. Maitreya uvacha iti pradarsya bhagavan iti pradarsya bhagavan satim tam atmano gatim satim tam atmano gatim svamatra brahma vadinya svamatra brahma vadinya kapilyo numato yayao kapilyo numato yayao. Please, Bolo. Maitreya uvacha iti pradarsya bhagavan satyam ta utgatim vamatra brahma vidinya kapila numato yayao. Maitreya uvacha iti pradarsya bhagavan satyam tam utmonogatim svamatra brahma vadinya kapilyo numato yayao. Maitreya uvacha iti pradarsya bhagavan satyam tam atmanogatim samatra brahma vadinya kapilya numat. Word by word together, please. Maitreya uvacha, Maitreya said, iti, thus, pradarsya, after instructing, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Satyam, vulnerable, self-realization, Gatim, path, Svamatra, for his mother, Brahma, Vadinya, self-realized, Kapilya, Lord Kapilya, Anumataha, took permission, Yayao, left. I want to apologize. I really have been liking this thing where we take a look at the Sanskrit first and say, hey, is there any words that we recognize? I think that's not that we have to do it, but it's kind of nice. So I'm going to try to add that into when I do class. Okay. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Looks like we don't have the mic yet, so I'll just do it and then we'll go. Sri Maitreya said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila, after instructing his beloved mother, took permission from her and left his home, his mission having been fulfilled. Please repeat. Sri Maitreya said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila, after instructing his beloved mother, took permission from her and left his home, his mission having been fulfilled. Drishta, would you mind reading the purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Purport. The mission of the appearance of the Supreme Personality. Mic isn't. You have to turn the volume.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram.
Hare Krishna.
There we go.
Hare Krishna. The mission of the Supreme Personality of God, of the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the form of Kapila, was to distribute the transcendental knowledge of Sankhya philosophy, which is full of devotional service. Having imparted that knowledge to his mother, and through his mother to the world, Kapila Dev had no more need to stay at home. So he took permission from his mother and left. Apparently, he left home for spiritual realization, although he had nothing to realize spiritually, because he himself is the person to be spiritually realized. Therefore, this is an example set by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. While acting like an ordinary human being, so that others might learn from him, he could have, of course, stayed at home, stayed with his mother, but he indicated there was no need to stay with the family. It is best to remain alone as a brahmachari, sannyasi, or vanaprastha, and cultivate Krishna consciousness throughout one's whole life. Those who are unable to remain alone are given license to live in household life with wife and children, not for sense gratification, but for cultivation of Krishna consciousness.
Okay. So we'll come back here, but what we're going to do is we're going to move to 9. Sounds like Kapila's Valentine was his mother. Yes, beloved mother, it says. Yeah, maybe. Okay, number 9. James, would you like to read number 9?
No.
Please.
Thus the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
Kapila,
Kapila, satisfied by the words of his mother, towards whom he was very affectionate, replied with gravity.
Okay, so just for some context, so Lord Kapila is very happy with his mother because she just spoke some really nice words, right? And what did she speak? I mean, in general, we don't have to get into too much details, but what was her general prayers? She was glorifying the Lord, right? She was glorifying his wonderful instructions. And then she, towards the end, says, you've encouraged us to chant the holy names of the Lord, and this is the highest. So when we have prayers to the Lord, this is a good way to start, is to glorify the Lord. I was taught a nice way of praying to the Lord. It's glorify, then gratitude, what you're grateful for, then give your intention, and then if you have something to ask for, then you ask for it at the end. And you can put a little asterisk by it by saying, if you so desire, can you please give me this? So, Devahuti has just glorified the Lord very nicely. Okay, 10, please.
The personality of Godhead said, "My dear mother, the path of self-realization, which I have already instructed to you, is very easy. You can execute this system without difficulty, and by following it, you shall very soon be liberated, even within your present body."
My dear mother, those who are actually transcendentalists certainly follow my instructions as I have given them to you. You may rest assured that if you traverse this path of self-realization perfectly, surely you shall be freed from fearful material contamination and shall ultimately reach me. Mother, persons who are not conversant with this method of devotional service certainly cannot get out of the cycle of birth and death.
Sri Maitreya said, the Supreme Personality of Godhood Kapila, after instructing his beloved mother, took permission from her and left his home, his mission having been fulfilled.
Okay, so in 10, text 10, we see that Lord Kapila is saying that which I've already instructed to you is very easy. So Srila Prabhupada said to us that this Krishna consciousness is simple, but not easy. It's a very simple method. And we should become very convinced that the spiritual master is giving us this path back home, back to Godhead. We should become very convinced or have unflinching faith in the instructions of the Srila Prabhupada, in the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada has given us a very simple path a very simple process, and that's to chant 16 rounds a day, to follow 4 regular principles. Those 4 regular principles are what? Drista? Or you go ahead and, yeah, you don't. Whoa. She's very humble.
No intoxication.
No intoxication.
No gambling.
No gambling.
No illicit sex.
No illicit sex.
And no meat eating.
No meat eating. So Srila Prabhupada, stay away from these. We won't go into much why, but these 4 things deteriorate us from spiritual life. And Srila Prabhupada has also very much encouraged us to, in this process, to rise early, to perform some worship, chant our rounds, to read the Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's not very hard in one sense, right? It's very simple. Chant Hare Krishna on your beads, follow 4 regular principles, wake up early or wake up as soon as you can, and make spiritual life the very first thing that we do. If we do this, it can give us a very good perception throughout the day of that spiritual life is the most important thing. But we can't become very convinced of these instructions unless we see the spiritual master in the proper perspective. If we see them in a material, with a material conception of them, then we will see the spiritual master wrong. We'll see them as just another human being that is has 4 material defects and is just in this process of growing old or being diseased in birth and death. But we should understand that the spiritual master, he's fully situated in the loving service of the Lord, and therefore he's liberated, meaning that he's beyond the 4 defects of the material world, and he's beyond birth, death, old age, and disease. Just so you go to text 33, or excuse me, number 10, and go to the last paragraph, please. So are you with me so far here? We're talking about how this process is very simple. It's not easy because we're material contaminated, but we make sure that because of our material contamination, we don't see that the spiritual master is materially contaminated. We don't see that Srila Prabhupada is materially contaminated. No, he's a liberated soul, meaning that, can you please read this last paragraph? James, if you want to, you can.
Liberation entails being situated in one's own position. That is the definition in
Srimad Bhagavatam. Muktir Swarupena Vyavastiti.
The Svarup.
Our naturals or actual identity of the living entity is described by the Lord Chaitanya.
Jivara Svarupa Hoy Krishnara Nityadasa.
The real identity of the living entity is that he is eternally a servitor of the Lord, of the Supreme Lord. If someone is 100% engaged in the service of the Lord, he is to be understood as liberated. One must understand whether or not he is liberated by the activities of devotional service, not by other symptoms. Liberty.
Liberation entails being situated in one's own position, being a servant of the Lord. So the spiritual master is always serving the Lord in so many different ways. He's not interested in material life. And so therefore he is liberated. And we can also be liberated by engaging ourselves in devotional service. But as Srila Prabhupada said here, that one must understand whether or not he's liberated by his activities in devotional service, not by other symptoms. So we're not looking at these other symptoms that are part of material life, right? The body gets old, deteriorates, these situations. So we're not so interested in the spiritual masters, in seeing in the spiritual master in this way. Instead, we're interested in seeing the spiritual master and his activities and how he's constantly serving the Lord and trying to encourage the devotees also to serve the Lord. So when we're fully situated in our position as servant of the Lord, then we no longer are being affected by material life. Material life is full of anxieties, right? We have so many responsibilities as families or as brahmacharis, or so many different situations when we're full of anxieties. So this liberation, this position of liberation should sound pretty attractive to us, right? Our anxieties are no longer there. We're feeling very confident in our position as servant of the Lord. And in that, as that servant, we can be very confident that our Lord is our friend, right? He's our friend and he's going to take care of us. But the devotee, their anxiety isn't material. Instead, they have the anxiety of that, what service might I do? What am I willing to take up? What anxieties am I willing to take up in the service of the Lord? For instance, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada had a very nice situation in Vrindavan, right? He was at Radha Damodar temple, a very famous temple, and he was there, and he had such a perfect situation where he could write books, and he could see Radha Damodar. He was do his parikram. Literally, this is the goal of the life for the Gaudiya Vaishnav, right? To reside in Vrindavan, always serving their lordship. But Srila Prabhupada, willing to take up any anxiety, took himself out of this situation and came here to America. Recently, I was in New York, and I had a very fortunate situation where Ram Roy Prabhu, very famous brahmachari, who is famous for his kirtan, or the chanting of Hare Krishna down in the subways and engaging people in the Sankirtan. And so after the kirtan in the subway, he took us on a little tour. And this is early December. It was a little cold. When I say a little, it was really cold. But we wanted to, go on this how should I say, a tour. Yeah, parikram's very nice. A tour. And so he took us to Srila Prabhupada, where he stayed, where Dr. Mishra had kicked Srila Prabhupada out of his house. Srila Prabhupada was living in Dr. Mishra's house. But he came to be envious of Srila Prabhupada. He became envious because Srila Prabhupada started preaching to Dr. Mishra's his followers. And so he could see that what Srila Prabhupada was preaching was very attractive. And so people were starting to be very attracted to what Srila Prabhupada, and so he got envious. He said, why don't you move over to this other place? I have another building. You can stay there and then, have your own area. So Ram Roy Prabhu took us to this place where Srila Prabhupada had this room. But this room had no windows. It was literally just a room, a very small space. And so it didn't even have a bathroom or a kitchen. And so what Srila Prabhupada would have to do each day is he'd have to come down from the 4th or 5th floor and then walk about 15 minutes to Dr. Mishra's house. And that's where he could go to he could use the facilities, he could shower up, use the restroom, and cook for himself. And this was it's only a 15-minute walk. Well, this was during the winter in New York. When we were there on December 5th, it was freezing. And so we had nice coats on and we were staying warm, and we walked this walk from where Srila Prabhupada was staying to Dr. Mishra's place. And I'm telling you what, it was cold. But when Srila Prabhupada was doing this, it was the coldest winter recorded in New York. Literally snow on the floor, on the ground, and Srila Prabhupada was walking this 15-minute walk. His shoes weren't the Nikes that we have today. They were shoes from India. You can, if you look up, they were just these small, simple shoes. And Srila Prabhupada would walk there each day just to cook, just to take a shower, to clean himself so that he could chant his rounds, chant Hare Krishna. Yes, Trista.
Also, Ram Roy Prabhu, he shared that, at least he read in Lilamrita, but while Prabhupada was staying there, he'd get starvation pains at night because he could only cook at that one place. And so then it's nighttime and he didn't want to walk over there at night, so he would just have these terrible hunger pains.
Yeah. So this is the situation that Srila Prabhupada put himself into. He left this very comfortable situation to share Krishna consciousness with us. And this is just like one simple explanation or a story of something that Srila Prabhupada went through. So Srila Prabhupada was willing to go through so many anxieties to share Krishna consciousness. And so in this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, we have a pretty nice situation, right? We have nice prasadam, food. We sing. We dance. We have nice friendships, right? We're taking care of each other. We have this nice temple where it's nice and warm. This International Society for Krishna Consciousness is a pretty nice situation. And so this is Krishna consciousness. When we take up to Krishna consciousness, Krishna's taking care of us. He's our friend. And so he'll put us in a situation where we can be very comfortable to practice Krishna consciousness. Nice food, nice friendships, nice jobs, nice financial situation. And we should be very, very grateful for that, right? However, we shouldn't get too comfortable in the sense of that we sit back and we just start to enjoy these things. We also should, as devotees, take up some kind of anxiety about how to spread Krishna consciousness. Some of you guys some people might get a little bit anxious when they hear that word anxiety. Take up anxiety. Oh no. That might be a triggering word for some people, right? I have to take up anxiety? Well, of course you don't. That's the point. You don't have to take up these anxieties. But, well, I'll give another story. So, not another story, but a situation. So, I recently was really praying that I might, in my heart, find some love for Krishna. So much so that my heart would feel very full. And it would fill up in a way that I have to share Krishna consciousness. If it was so much, if I had love for Krishna so much that it was overflowing, then I'd have to share it. So Krishna, please give me this. So I was really praying for this, and I heard from a devotee. He said that she was explaining this story with Srila Prabhupada. He was explaining this story with Srila Prabhupada. And one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples had written to him saying, Srila Prabhupada, you've given us so much. I'm so appreciative. So to pay you back, I'd like to know what I can do. And Srila Prabhupada wrote him back and he said, well, you actually can never do enough to pay back the spiritual master. There's nothing that we can do to pay back the spiritual master. But if you'd like to try, then just try to preach like I preach. And so my prayer had to do with preaching, right? I was wanted to share it. And so when I heard this, I was like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. That's a pretty high standard, right? Srila Prabhupada's setting a pretty high bar. If you want to try to pay me back, then preach like I have. 108 temples, spread Krishna consciousness all around the world, wrote 70 books, started a process that we're all doing right now all over the world of taking shelter of ISKCON temples, going to morning program, reading Srila Prabhupada's books, chanting Hare Krishna. Preach, try to preach like I have preached. So I was a little bummed when I heard this. But then I took a deep breath and said, okay, well, what can I do to try to preach like Srila Prabhupada preached? And so, this is the anxiety that we are trying to take up as devotees, to try to rack our brains about how we can try to share Krishna consciousness with others. So, Lord Kapila has left his home, and Srila Prabhupada has mentioned that we can leave home to try to spread Krishna consciousness or become spiritually realized. And he gives the examples of the brahmachari or the sannyas or the vanapras, or he says of the household. So we don't need to leave home, or we can leave home. But the point is that we should be trying to leave our comfort zone to some degree about how we can share this Krishna consciousness, how we can pay back Srila Prabhupada, how we can put a smile on his face, how we can share this Krishna consciousness and put a smile on other people's face. And this is our anxiety as devotees. How? How can I spread this Krishna consciousness? How can I share this Krishna consciousness with others? And we should take to the spiritual master, and he can give us instructions how to do this. And that was the point, is that Srila Prabhupada, I felt, was giving me a clear message to preach like I am preaching. So, I'm not saying I can preach like Srila Prabhupada, but I can see how I, as Nanda Braja Das, in my situation, can put myself in a situation to share Krishna consciousness with others. And, keep on trying. And Krishna will give us, he'll give us some guidance. Srila Prabhupada will give us some guidance by our sincerity to try to spread this Krishna consciousness movement. So, I'm 2 minutes early, which I'll call a success, because we've been having such good discussion and questions lately. So, anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts? Mother Kunti, please.
Thank you so much, Nanda Braja.
Thank you.
The theme of anxiety is very appropriate on Valentine's Day, because we know that worldwide, or at least in the Western Hemisphere, everyone is in anxiety about their loved one, and do they know that I love them? And the anxiety you're talking about is watering the root of our whole existence. And this is the satisfaction of Guru and Krishna. My question is, and I'm revealing my mind because I had a serious, I guess, critical mentality last night. So one Prabhu was speaking up about how we should do this, we should do that, and we need to launch a museum, for example, and let's do this. And I remember a lecture by Srila Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, Gurudev, he said, when someone is saying we should do this, we should do that, we should do, they're pointing 3 fingers at themselves. Yes. And they're actually talking about themselves, and that actually has to be something that they personally take up. So last night I was thinking, yes, Prabhu, that's you. You are in charge. You manage it. We will assist you. And therefore, because some of us, I was told when I was a new devotee, brand new, she can manage her way out of a wet paper bag. And that's a fact. I see it even to this day. My beloved Nrsingarupi has to constantly guide, Mom, is there another way we could do this? Or, he's constantly questioning, what can we do to improve this? What do you think? So I that's my critical mentality, and I'm begging for your mercy to please help me, because I'm hearing these shoulds lately. All these shoulds.
So when we're hearing of we, I really appreciate this point, because, how many times have you given class and you're really preaching to yourself? How many times do we talk and we realize that we're preaching to ourselves, that we're talking to? However, we try to gain a perspective of servant. So sometimes the things that we're going through can help others. So if I'm going through a situation where I'm having some anxiety and I want to increase my service to Srila Prabhupada, I can be preaching to myself, but also there's other people that can hear it too. as long as we remained situated in a position of service. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm trying to encourage. I'm trying to encourage myself to take up some anxiety to preach Srila Prabhupada. So we shouldn't give distress to the devotees, that of course. However, if we can pull up a service attitude in that sincerity to give enthusiasm to the devotees, then that's our aim, is to how can I give enthusiasm to other devotees. Now, in your situation where we're hearing people, who have some inspiration, enthusiasm for their project, I appreciated your point. Like that's, hey, Prabhu, do that, and I'll do what I can to help, right? So we should understand our position. And the anxiety of the devotee that I found is where's my position in Srila Prabhupada's movement? Who am I in Srila Prabhupada's movement? How am I taking up devotional service? And when we're unclear on this, it can create great disturbance. And so we should be compassionate to those who don't quite understand maybe where they're at yet. They have the heart of service, right? They have a heart of service, and that's actually liberation, right? However, they might not be clear on what their service is exactly and looks like. So we're always trying to encourage the devotees to find their service, to encourage them and enthusiasm. However, we have to understand our service. There's so many times that I get into a situation where I want to help a devotee, but I have to look at where am I at, what's my best way to serve them. And often it isn't so much action. It's more of trying to well-wish or pray, because I'm in the position I am at, Yeah, yes. Yes. Right. And so as a mother, our service is different. We have to sometimes lay down consequences for our kids. That's our service. We might, as the temple president, have to lay down a circumstance, as a consequence sometimes. I'm not saying our temple president is very nice, and so I know that he's not thinking of the consequences. But the point is sometimes you're in a position where you have to lay down consequences. If you do like this, this is going to happen, or this is the consequence. So the point is that we can be very much this way or very much this way. But the point is that we're trying to serve and understand who we are. So the greatness of Srila Prabhupada is his range of emotion was infinite. And he could use any emotion or anything at any time to serve the devotee. And this is Srila Prabhupada's greatness. He could be angry and use it perfectly for Krishna. He could use a smile and use it perfectly for Krishna. So we're trying to preach like Srila Prabhupada's preaching. So we should also be able to understand that we're the servants, and that sometimes we use our position, who we are, to do what's best for them. I gave a class the other day, called being a well-wisher, right? So we should be always well-wishing. Maybe that's prayer. Maybe that's some words of encouragement. Maybe sometimes it's putting down consequences. I teach PE class on Mondays, and yet Mother Kaylee was there. I'm calling her Mother Kaylee because that's the PE and MP. And we had a whole PE session where it was consequences. None of the kids wanted to listen, so I was like, "Hey guys, sometimes consequences happen. So let's have a discussion." So they had to hear Nanda Braja lecture. That's a big consequence. Okay, was that okay, Mother Kunti? It's okay. You're very kind. You're very kind. I appreciate your heart, because I really see in your questions your mood and your as a desire to serve the devotees. It's very much prevalent, so I appreciate it. Kaylee.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for class, Nanda Braja. I appreciate this topic and opening up the conversation, for discussion. I also appreciate Mother Kunti's question. I also have a very critical mind, and so I've noticed that it's actually when people say things like you should do this or they should do this, that's when the fingers are pointing back. But when someone has the mood of we should do this, it's more coming from this encouraging aspect that Nanda Braja is talking about. It's someone is passionate about their service and they want other people to feel included. But when people start becoming accusatory, saying things like you or they should do that, that's when the fingers are pointing back. Yeah, so, yeah, I just trying to pay attention to how we say that we communicate things is really important. I also have a question about this anxiety.
Can I make one?
Sure.
The critical mind is okay. Whoa, what? Wait a minute. Whoa, wait. I'm always trying to be critical about how best to serve. We're not envious. Criticism and envy is bad. Criticism about how we can make things better to preach, share Krishna consciousness, how we can get deeper, that's good. And you actually have to have a critical mind in that sense. I am doing this, it's not working, how can I change it? So it's like, but it's just our attitude is servant, and therefore it changes the criticism to become more of, constructive criticism. There we go. It becomes constructive. How can I help? How can I serve this devotee? So I thought when you mentioned, I thought about that when Mother Kunti was speaking, and then when you mentioned it. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Actually, so many devotees make this, our anarta seem so nice. So thank you for putting that, even though it's not like that. So this topic of anxiety, because when I hear it, it is kind of a word for me too, because I notice when I do get anxious, nothing gets done. So then I notice when it talks about how we in Prabhupada's purport, he says that material life is filled with anxieties and fear, and one that is of devotional service is like liberation, it's freedom from these things, and it's fearlessness. And when we talk about being anxiety for devotional service, I'm looking at Prabhupada and I feel that he did all these things by literally just chanting Hare Krishna in the park. I mean, when I see Prabhupada, it didn't feel like he had any anxiety. And from my observation of what other people think of Prabhupada, they always saw him as someone calm, cool, and collected, and understanding that Krishna is in control of everything. I think when we get this anxiety, it almost feels like, okay, I'm the doer and I have to do this or something. Is this wrong conception? Because I don't understand, because I know when I'm in anxiety, nothing's getting done and I don't feel devotional. But when I just feel like I'm just trying to surrender, it feels like things just happen and flow, and that's when it feels like Krishna steps in.
Well, there you go. You just answered your question.
But I don't know. That's
there you go. That's
my ignorance.
Just stop. You just answered your question.
That's my ignorance and just.
There you go. It was just, boom. There we go.
I guess.
So the anxiety will not stop. Anxiety. We don't try to stop anxiety. We try to make our anxiety Krishna conscious. And you just answered your question. You got anxious, and so therefore Krishna has to step in. Now, as devotees who are not on a 100% Krishna conscious platform, we are in anxiety over a material situation, but then we start, like, we're around devotees and we go, oh yeah, Krishna's in control. And so we start praying, please Krishna help me. And then that faith in Krishna, the confidence grows stronger in Krishna. And therefore with that confidence and that faith and that trust that's built with Krishna, our love gets deeper. And so we will get more confident in Krishna, and we'll get to a point where we never go away from our best friend is always there. But anxiety might not necessarily ever go away. Mother Yashoda is always in anxiety about if Krishna is cleaned up enough. Krishna, if you're not clean and you don't take your bath, then what will the people in the village think of us? They will think that I'm not taking care of you. They will think that you're in a, they'll wonder what's going on. Does Mother Yashoda, does Krishna's mother take care of him? So she's like, Krishna needs to look nice for everybody in the village. Is Krishna eating nicely? Krishna, come home and eat. I'm in anxiety because you've been playing all day, and if you don't come and eat now, then you might starve to death. Sometimes Mother, you showed us, might not be her anxiety might not be very. I was thinking there was another word that I came up with. Rational. Her anxiety might not be so rational in some sense, but it's completely rational because she's just thinking about her love for Krishna. So keep practicing Krishna consciousness. You have some anxiety, that is okay. Pray to Krishna, and your anxiety will change in some way, shape, or form, whether it's less or this or different. Am I answering your question, by the way? Oh, your point was that when your anxiety, nothing gets done. Yes. Sringarupa. Oh, please, yeah, okay. Yes, material life, nothing gets done, right? But if we start to switch it to spiritual life, if we start to change our anxiety to praying to Krishna, then it becomes perfect. That one gets added in the front and it becomes valuable. So, you have some anxiety. I wouldn't so worry about trying to get rid of that anxiety or not. I would encourage to say, how can we be in a situation where we're always using whatever for Krishna? I am feeling anxiety, so I go pray to Krishna. If I'm feeling anxiety, I write to Krishna. If I'm feeling anxiety, I go to Krishna in some way, shape, or form. It's perfect. Yes, Prema.
Hare Krishna. What I'm hearing is like you feel like you're not taking on enough anxiety for Krishna, but you also feel like it's not necessarily your nature to take on anxiety in that way. It's not helpful for you. Yeah, and so to that point, I would just say that every person is very individual in their level of whether they like to serve Krishna in a way that's, they take on a lot of anxiety, or they like to serve Krishna in a way that's very peaceful and calm. That's up to every individual. Some people, it comes with dosha, some people have a pitta dosha, and so they need fast pace. Some people are more vata, so they need like something to be very stable because their mind is already. Yes. She said, is it on the material platform? I would say yes, like when we're mixed with material consciousness, that's what affects it. Once we're fully in spiritual consciousness, we won't care about our own anxiety or anything. Like, it won't affect us at all. But the fact is that most of us aren't on that. So those of us with more passion can dovetail our passion by taking on anxiety. Those of us that have, different mixes of the modes can use that in the way that's best for us to come closer to Krishna. It's very individual.
No, I wanted to relate to what you were saying, because it's similar for me. If I'm feeling very anxious, then a lot of times it's kind of like I'll get overwhelmed. I can't really move forward with what I'm doing. And I've noticed for myself, and you touched on this point, that the more that I'm seeing that Krishna is the controller and the doer, and that I'm not in control and I'm not the doer, then a lot of that anxiety goes away. I feel like I feel like I can just try my best, and the rest is up to Krishna. Then I don't feel so anxious about the result or what I'm supposed to be doing or what I haven't done or all the millions of things that are circling up in my head sometimes. But I can really relate to that feeling of anxiousness and what that does.
I just love the transformation of the anxiety that you have, but once you reach that higher consciousness of Krishna, he takes that away. It just shows the devotion that you have to reach for that transformation. I just feel like whenever you seek that, it's like being on fire or being on ice. You're always going through suffering for this higher self that you're trying to reach, and it's reaching for Krishna, for him to sanctify how you're feeling to remove all that anxiety, because it's really spiritual peace, whenever you're with them. So.
Thank you. Appreciate you sharing, James. The Mahatma, the very spiritually advanced, they are like swans. They take milk and water that are mixed, and they can separate the milk from the water. So similarly, we try to be like Mahatmas in the sense of separating the situation we have from the good and the bad. And so the devotee's always trying to see what good can come from a situation. And that good is, how do I use this in Krishna service? That's the only good that devotee is interested in. So whether it's this, that, or indifferent, the devotee is always looking at how I can use this in Krishna service. Okay, 8:33. We'll end class here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Pramanande Hari Hari Bol. Vanchikalpatarubhyascha. Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha. Patinam Pavanibhyo. Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha.